Welcome back to Mapping the Self. I'm Selena Garofino. I'm assuming you know who I am if you're here. This is Dr. Paula Sauer. Dr. Paula Sauer is an old friend of mine. I first met Paula while I was doing a advanced yoga teacher training with Noah Maze, and she was teaching the applied anatomy in that course. And at the time, it was pre my Ehlers-Danlos diagnosis, and I had been struggling with chronic pain since I was like 11 years old in my back from ballet and, well, from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I started seeing Paula. At the time, her physical therapy clinic was across the street from Wanderlust Hollywood, which is no longer in existence, sadly, but it was a fun studio. And I
Yeah.
started seeing her. And after seeing so many chiropractors and physical therapists and all the people, she got me in a place where I could manage my pain. My pain has never gone away and probably never will because, again, Ehlers-Danlos. But I learned pain management tools from Paula, and I was so impressed. And her approach to asana in the yoga training. And then we've just become friends over the years, and we teach together. We've been teaching together since 2016, I think. If I'm, yeah, 2016 or 17. Anyway, she's amazing. She's doing women's health stuff. She lives in Switzerland now and is doing physical therapy there. She does pain, she does strength training, all the things. And I'm so happy that she's here. Paula, say hi to the people.
Hello, people. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I have loved connecting with Paula around yoga and health stuff because if you know me, as much as I love, I teach traditional Chinese medicine in my yoga trainings. I am trained to a certain extent in Ayurveda, and I love holistic approaches to well being. I use herbs and all these things, but I'm also a scientist. I have a master's degree in infectious disease and maternal, child, and infant health. I worked in global public health, and I don't like bullshit. Like, I don't want to be grifted to. I don't want to be sold parasite cleanses. I don't want to rub urine on my skin, which someone just sent me a
Or
message about a
drink
few
it.
days ago, or drink it, God forbid. So like, as a person who very much is anchored as a spiritual person who loves great nature and loves the wellness that can come from great nature, I'm also a scientist. And Paula is very practical that way as well. Like, we really connect with esoteric dialogue and healing from no nonsense. And there's things that we know we can't explain with science. Thank God. There's still mystery. It's why we need artists and poets and symbolic language. But we also use evidence based things. I would love it if you could chat about that a little bit, that kind of realm of combo.
Well, first, it's funny. You learned from me, and I've learned from you. We've been each other's friends and teachers and students, and we've worked together. We've traveled together. Like we've done a lot of things together, and what we both really have in common is this ability to kind of pull from all our different experiences and educations and just kind of we both see the world in a different way, and I see it differently than you do, and we complement each other so well. We teach really
Yeah,
well together. I have
we
to I
do.
have to say, like, I love learning from you as well, and taking what you bring in and weave in and applying it to what I know. So it's really this beautiful organic friendship that we have that started,
Yeah.
gosh, almost 10 years ago. So, and when it comes to no nonsense, no bullshit, just evidence, the first thing I always say to everyone is the evidence is there, but the evidence will always change, and
Mhm.
be flexible to the evidence because we don't know everything about the human body.
That's right.
We study the human body. We're only recently in the last few years really finally researching women's bodies
Correct.
appropriately. And what we're learning, it changes almost daily. There's so much information coming out.
Yeah.
So it becomes really important to take in what you can and sit with it for a moment because it might push some buttons. It might push against what you spent a lot of money learning or a lot of degrees learning. And then all of a sudden, it's not what you thought it was. Now it's something different. But if we kind of think of it as kind of like where you're making a soup and you're just
Yeah.
adding a new ingredient to it and it's just going to become more flavorful. It's the same thing with our experience of evidence and what we know about the body and the mind and kind of weaving everything together. That's the
I'm going to
beauty of,
pause you for 1 second because there's
yeah,
something you're saying that's really important that a lot of wellness people don't get that aren't trained in the sciences. And I don't mean this in any kind of offensive way. We don't know what we don't know. There's a ton of things I don't know. But I see people comment a lot, well, they don't know anything. It's changing all the time, as if that was some smug, I've got you moment. It's not an I've got you moment. That's literally what science is. We are trying to disprove ourselves. When I used to get grants to do research, health research, every hypothesis that I made was based on evidence, but my goal was not to prove I was right. It was to prove I was wrong. And
yeah,
that's what good science is always doing. We're always trying to prove that we are wrong. We're looking for every hole in our argument, and then we put it through a peer review process of other specialists so they can prove we're wrong. So it is not. And so when we change an idea, it's because there's enough maturity to go, I found a new piece. I learned something new. And I'm not saying that there are not scientists who um, sometimes are too invested in their own work and fight against people disproving them. Of course, that happens. We're human, right? We are human. And we get
yeah.
very, imagine you dump 20 years of your life into something and then someone's like, boom, it's not true. That sucks. So there might be some resistance. But when we change our mind, it's not because we were stupid before or we had an agenda before. It's because we're being flexible and we're going, wow, look at this cool new thing. And so you have to remember that when you see these like gotcha headlines in science.
It's just marketing.
Yeah.
When it's a gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Everything you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
No, no, it's not.
No,
It's
that's
not.
right.
Everything you're doing isn't wrong. It's that it's like parenting. You're doing what you do with the tools that you know.
That's right.
And maybe you learn some more tools along the way. And isn't that cool and exciting that
Yeah.
we can learn more, that we don't know
Yeah.
everything? I
Yeah.
love that. It keeps me excited about what I do for a living. I've been a physical therapist for 20 years now, and it's never boring. And now I'm weaving in more neuroscience and learning more neuroscience because I have neuro patients for the first time in my life, really like neuro patients, like
Yeah.
their whole brachial plexus is messed up, or they have had strokes, or they've had long COVID that affected their central nervous system. I've never dealt with that before. I was ortho, only ortho. But what's great about having to open up a whole new aspect of what I do is that you see how the neuro stuff can play into the ortho stuff, and it just opens your perspective even more. It's really fabulous. First, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember all of this stuff, but it's an opportunity to do another deep dive and then
Yeah.
really, really sharpen your knives a little bit more. So it's exciting. I always see it as exciting. So
It is. We need to stay curious, and especially like speaking for a moment to anyone who's a yoga teacher. And I know there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast that are not yoga teachers, but even if you're a practitioner, we have to stay lifelong learners. Actually, that applies to anyone. Scratch that. Any human being, you have to stay a lifelong learner and stay curious about your existence and about the great mysteries of life and about all of these points of awareness. Like if you're a practitioner of any kind of movement thing, body anatomy that can seem like such a boring, dry subject is not that at all. It's another point of awareness. It's another map that you have. When yoga teachers are going through trainings with me and they're frustrated with anatomy or they're like, this stuff's so boring to me, I'm like, then you don't understand yet that it's a point of awareness, that it's another tool for your interoceptive, your inside experience, that it's another tool for awakening and harmonization. You're still thinking of it as something out there, and that kind of curiosity, anything where we have curiosity and we're learning makes us more dimensional. And that's the thing we have to get, like being disproven, having our ideas challenged makes us more dimensional and more self-expressed and more self-actualized. Yeah.
and the whole point, like I just want to touch on that subject of like when you're proven wrong. that moment you're proven wrong. And it happens to everybody. It happens to me. It happens to everybody, right? We all have that moment where we get like hot under the collar. We're like, what? But it's really, it's a hard pill to swallow when it happens, but when it does happen, and you can step back, take a breath, and like sometimes you have to step away for like a day. Just be like, let me really think about this. And why am I so triggered by this?
Yeah.
And then once you figure that out and you're like, oh, wait a second. I wasn't even listening to what they were saying because I was triggered by like, that goes against what I learned. When you can step back and listen and you dig in deeper and you look at the new research or you look at research you weren't aware of, sometimes it's just that.
Yeah.
And you start to learn about it, then it's such a big growth moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah. I'm going to turn this relational in case you were just like, why are they talking about research? Because everything that we're just said also just applies relationally. So part of the reason we get so hot under the collar is because we've attached our identity to our ideas. That's always how you know. Anytime that you get very hot under the collar, you've attached your identity to your idea, or I will say the disclaimer, or it's something that is so high value to you, like for example, human rights, that it flares up that like righteous anger. But it's one of those two things
Yeah.
always, in my opinion. I might change my mind later because I'm open to new evidence, but that is more than likely what's going on. Now, when we've attached our identity to our ideas, then when someone challenges what we're saying or thinking, they're challenging who we are as a person. And that is a good place to pause and in your reflective day away, sit with, why do I think that's me? Why have I built up my identity around this externality and this objective thing? Because it's going to end up being a pain point. And the truth is, you can be right or you can be in relationship with people for the most part all the time, right? So it's
I
like,
find
why
that a
is
lot,
this? Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
people just want to be right. And it's like,
yeah.
step back. Why do you want to be right? And like start asking those questions of the
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
behind
Well,
it.
we're taught, I have a theory about this I've been ranting about a lot in my 300-hour yoga teacher training crew. Ranting's the wrong word, but discussing. Because I have a couple students that get really flustered when they make a mistake. And I think in Western education, if you think about it, we're taught from the time we enter preschool that to be right, wrong is a punishable offense. Being wrong gets you an F. Being wrong gets you, I can't believe you don't know that yet. Being wrong gets you, why are you so stupid? Being wrong gets you shamed. Being wrong gets you, I don't get to go to the pizza party. Being wrong, like it is drilled into us that you should be right at all costs and have the right answer and be correct rather than cultivation of curiosity. And I think that becomes so ingrained in us that we walk around in the world afraid to be wrong and afraid to make mistakes because we're taught so young and it's so socialized that it's bad.
Yeah. And the shame and embarrassment and the punishment behind it, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing more relieving than saying, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Or imagine as a student if your teacher would have said, can you tell me why you think that? Which is what I do with my students. I'm like, tell me how you got to that conclusion. And then I celebrate, I do my very best. And I've had to develop this in the last few years. I don't think I was like this early in my career, but then I celebrate the thinking process. Even if the answer about the shoulder or whatever I've asked them about is incorrect, I'm like, I love your thinking because you were thinking about blank. Now, that's not quite how it functions, but look at your thinking. That was amazing. And celebrating the like curiosity and the chewing on it. Like, if we can bring that kind of tenderness and generosity to our seeing, we can be more compassionate with ourselves and other people and get curious about people instead of just putting a wall up of difference.
I find that you and I both live in a foreign country. You and I both had to learn a foreign language and function and live in that foreign language the majority of your time. And this is probably the best thing anybody could ever do for approaching this topic specifically when it comes to making mistakes and being comfortable not being perfect and being comfortable just functioning in the world of, I just need to communicate an idea and a thought. And if
Yeah.
it's wrong, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I speak intermediate level Italian. I have several years left till fluency. I always think it's funny. I'll see people in Facebook groups and they're like, I'll be fluent in 6 months, and I definitely understand everything I'm hearing. I've been using Babbel, and I'm like, oh my god, I
That,
wish I had
and
that level of confidence. I'm like, I study all the time and I speak every day, and I'm like, I have years left till I'm at any level of fluency that I want to be at,
yeah,
years, and I study hours every day and I speak all day long. But exactly, like, and I remember early on that was difficult for me, because you want to be correct and you want to get the right idea out, and or sound how I do in English, and it's impossible. And now, like you just said, I just want to be understood, and it doesn't matter if I conjugated the verb wrong and if I used the passato prossima instead of the imperfetto. Like, they don't care. They understood what I needed to say. They know I
yeah,
can understand them, and that's what we're after. That's what the point of communication is. It's not to be right, it's to be understood and witnessed,
yeah.
which is a very different essence. That's a metaphor, by the way, and also literal.
That's why I bring it up, because I'm not sure if it's just an American cultural thing that we are taught all of this like perfectionism and don't mess up, and we're graded on everything, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so we're brought up with we have to perform, and if we don't perform, we're a failure, and it's like really harsh stuff. This
Yeah.
inner dialogue that happens, right? I know we started talking about research, and now we're talking about something really deep right now, but it all plays into all of that. So it, I, I, I feel if anyone has the opportunity, anyone listening to this has the opportunity or has the goal of stepping outside their comfort zone and deciding to learn something new. And I don't mean like I'm going to use Duolingo for 15 minutes a day. I mean, I'm going to move to Spain and learn Spanish and work and live and breathe in it for a year. I say go for it, because it's not just about the language that you're going to learn. You're going to learn so much about yourself. And this is
Mm-hmm.
true of anything. Like, you don't know anything about the human body. You've been curious. You want to learn. Dive in deep. You're going to enter a world that is completely, it's like science fiction when you start to study the body, the
Mm-hmm.
human body.
It
And
is.
not just anatomy, but like the physiology behind it, which I think is way more exciting, because
You
how
should
does
probably
everything
tell people
work?
what the difference between anatomy and physiology is, because I guarantee you most people listening are like, that's the same thing.
They're like, oh, so anatomy is the structure, your bones, your muscles, your ligaments. That's it. That's anatomy. What your heart is, what your femur bone is, your ACL. These are structures. How everything works is the physiology. How your liver works to process and detoxify your blood is physiology. How your metabolism works is physiology. How respiration works, physiology. And that's where it becomes sci-fi. And
Yeah.
I'm constantly blown away when I review things before I'm going to lecture. I'm like, you're so well designed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
It's
is
such a
such a
reminder of the you belong, you fit, the universality of things. It's such a reminder of belonging. It's so interesting. Yeah.
so interesting. And so many things could really go wrong, and they don't.
Yeah. And they don't. In our lives too, everywhere. So many things. We are always so focused on the stuff that is going wrong or the pain we do have. And it's like, do you know how many things are working right all the time, functioning so well that don't have to. It doesn't have to be this way, baby. Like 10 other things could be unraveling right now, and they're not. They're functioning harmoniously and beautifully. It's so cool.
So cool.
And I love what you said about diving into things like you're interested in the body. It doesn't matter if it's part of your profession, dive into it and learn it. And one of the reasons why is, in Chinese medicine, there's something called Jing, and it's like this infusion you get. Well, you get infusions every 7 years, but it's like the tree sap that keeps you of the tree, that keeps you alive and charming and all the things that you are. And you get infusions of Jing, you get chi, like life energy, anytime you do anything that develops you. So you get chi from food, from breath, and anything that personally develops you. And every single thing that we study and learn is interfacing with us. It is interfacing with you, who is the mediator and the modulator and the meditator and the person who is handling everything. It comes through the ground of you. So it's like center and circumference. And so you are interacting with this material, whatever it is, in a way that no one else is, and are going to then take that material and transmit it, integrate it, use it in different ways that no one else will. And in a way that's going to come through a unique expression of you, even when we're talking about facts of the matter. So every single thing that you learn develops you, helps you to become more dimensional, gives you a new technique, and techniques make you very powerful. So there's a real case for, like, even if you think you're done, like, nothing cracks me up more than when a yoga teacher tells me they're already certified. Like, I already have my 500 hours. So what? I already did an anatomy training. So what? Like, I have to, like, keep my face straight and not say so what, because that's what I'm thinking. So, and
now you're going to learn it from a new perspective.
yeah, right. Even the same material. Like, I was telling Daedras yesterday, I almost signed up for her last mentorship just because I like listening to her. I have so many Katonah hours. Like, I teach Katonah trainings. I don't need to take, I've done a bazillion mentorships. They were laughing at me because I did 4. You're supposed to do 1. I did it 4 times, the mentorship that they have, 4 in a row. Same people teaching it. They were looking at me like, what are you doing here? Because I want to just keep hearing it. I want to hear it from someone new. I want to hear how you say it this time. And it's why, like, in Paula and I's breath training, I made the decision to not kick anyone out of it and to just keep stacking the videos from each session into a bonus area, because it comes out of us differently every time. And I want people to keep interfacing with the material. Sorry, that was a big rant. Thoughts? I was like, I have something to say all of a sudden, and it feels very important. I'm going to say the whole thing.
Yeah, it's an evolution, right? All of it's an evolution.
Yeah.
So, as we teach, you and I have been teaching for years, and you and I have been lifelong learners, and we know that it just constantly snowballs into something better and greater. And what's beautiful is you allow your students to come on that journey and snowball with us, which is really fun.
Yeah, I have one of my hypnosis. So I'm a hypnotist, and I'm doing some more hypnosis training right now. And my hypnosis teacher is like, once you're in my world, you're in my world, and I'll be in yours as much as you want to. And I operate the same way. Do I have intense interaction, and am I in the meat of everything with every student? No, but it's because they haven't asked for it. The ones that message me, come to me, and I do teach publicly for free in my communities all the time. But the ones that like come, I'm there. If they like, I mean, obviously, if at a certain point I start charging for sessions or whatever, but like, I'm there. I'm coaching people in my platforms. I'm letting them access the material later because the ideas have changed. I'm in the middle of reshooting a whole bunch of my digital 200 hour because I'm like, this is outdated, or I don't feel that way anymore. And
like the anatomy stuff, I have to reshoot.
Paula's reshooting the anatomy. That whole section is being reshot. My personal development coaching is being reshot. I've done like 7 trainings since then. That model that's in there, which people love, so I'm just going to put it in a bonus thing, but it's so outdated for me. That's not how I coach anymore. I do deep subconscious reprogramming change work. I don't operate that way anymore. It doesn't mean the other thing's not valuable. It's just changing. And I feel like what I love about what we're building too is like we're creating a community for that instead of these one and done trainings where it's like, now you're out. Now you're out. That one's finished. Goodbye. Because
Yeah.
we need to be in ongoing, engaged conversations, and not get so
Also,
attached to things.
yeah. Also, I feel like the training, like the breath training workshop that we're doing,
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it a workshop. It's really, it's material that you have to revisit over and over again. Like you can't just listen to it and participate with it once.
No.
You really have to, I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that. You benefit more
There you go. Yeah.
um, if you have the time to invest into replaying and re-listening to some of these lectures that we're doing, because every time you just walk away with something different from it. At least
Yeah.
that's my experience, right?
It lands differently, even. Like, I did a training a couple years ago when I did one of my NLP trainings, and there was some neurolinguistical programming. And some of it at the time, I was like, I don't like this, and I just like shoved it aside. I did what I had to do to graduate. And then I was like, no. And now, like a year later, I'm popping the videos on while I'm like cleaning house. And I'm like, oh, and it's making connections with stuff I've learned in hypnosis training, which is helping me figure out how to weave neuroplasticity training into the breathwork training, which is happening in the next one that I didn't do in the previous ones. Like, now I've made a connection in the last 4 days between the breathwork stuff we teach and the hypnosis stuff that I do with my clients. And I'm like, oh, I can give them a tool for this where it's self retrain neuroplasticity training. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's like that ongoing dialogue of why, yeah, like not taking a training and just being finished with it. Like, I no longer want to take trainings where I don't have ongoing access to the videos. When they're like, oh, you have 3-month access, I'm like, I don't want that, because I need to be able to go back and like get the meat out of it. The worst thing you can do when you are listening to someone and learning is think, I already know this, I've heard this before, and shut down.
Yeah. I I think it's more fun while you're, even if it's something you know, even if it's a topic you're well versed in,
Yeah.
and you're listening to somebody else because you're listening to their perspective, and their perspective always has value.
Yeah.
There's always some value in there. Even if you're like, don't agree with them, there's wait and sit with it, because it might apply to, like, if you're a healthcare practitioner, or if you're a movement person, or you just work with people in general, it might help you with a certain subset of people that
Yeah.
you're like, oh, wait a second, I can apply this to this particular person. Let me try this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you have a big breakthrough with this person.
That's right. Yeah.
It's hard because we're always trying to stay present with, like, I work in healthcare, right? I work at it for 25 minutes with one person in a foreign language, and I'm hyper alert to what they're saying, because I have to just figure out what they're saying in the first
Yeah.
place,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then communicate what I know in English and use metaphor and translate that into German. Is
It's so
that
hard. I'm not there
It
with
is very
Italian.
hard to do.
Yeah. Super
And
hard.
it's been incredibly hard to do. And then also apply something new on top of that. It just like comes with time and experience. You're able to kind of add that layer to it. That's a very specific example, but
No, but that's everything. That's learning happens with time, repetition, and technique.
yeah,
Basta. Yeah.
it's really I can't emphasize life learning enough, because it's so incredible. First of all, that our brains are capable of even doing that.
Right. Yeah.
So we're so cool
We are so cool.
as a species,
Yeah. Not,
like what
but
we're
we're
capable.
also so cool. I'm just kidding. I couldn't help myself. That was the dorkiest joke. Sorry, people. Everyone just
Oh my
logged off.
gosh,
They were like, and
feeling
goodbye.
less cool as I get older. I just it's
I've never felt cool, but I also like always knew I was cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one else thought I was cool. Like, I was such a like picked on kid, even though I had like rad outfits and stuff. I was poorly understood in Montana. But I still just like knew, I knew deep down.
I want to say something about, like the changing woman. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 52 at this point, and I, re- I remember going through the early stages of perimenopause. I'm going to say I
Mhm.
was like 37 years old when I really look back.
Yeah. Same.
And
That's
at
when it
this
started for
time,
me, looking back. Yeah.
37, the first symptoms for me were frequency of urination, frequent urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong with me. And it was that. And the moodiness, the tolerance of things started to change around 37 to 40. Then, fast forward, hot flashes hit me at 43. Before that, cycle changes. So there's a whole lead up to the one symptom that everybody recognizes as, oh, you're going through your changing years. They call it
Yeah.
changing years in German.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. And it's
As if your whole life wasn't changing years. Your hormones are different when you're 20 to 23, from 25
yeah.
to when your brain fully develops. Yeah. Anyway, carry
Yeah.
on.
Dr. Mary Claire Haver calls it the zone of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That makes more
love
sense.
that because it's so true. You're like, what is happening? And there are some big things that I don't know if this has happened to you yet, but you feel like a zombie. You feel half asleep. You feel that you hear about brain fog and then you wake up and you're like, oh no, I can't remember stuff. Do I have dementia? Like you start really freaking out. And I remember
And then you
all of
stack it
that.
on allergy season and you just want to die.
There's so many symptoms. There's a growing number of
I'm having such bad allergies right now and the perimenopause stuff. And I'm like dealing with a heartbreak. And I'm like, am I dying? Do I have dementia? Oh, I'm having a hot flash now. Oh, like I was on the metro the other day and I had a hot flash and it was not that hot. And people, Italians wear winter coats until like July. And so, like, even though it was quite nice out, it was for the Americans, it was like in the 70s, it was pretty warm. And but I started having a hot flash. My hair's curling because I'd straightened it. I'm sweating. And there's this old man sitting across from me, and I'm ripping my jacket off. I have a corset on, like this little linen white corset. And I'm like, take the jacket. And he's just looking at me like, just, and I have allergies. So there's brain fog and I'm sneezing. And I was just like, I hate everything right now. Sorry, carry on. I just wanted to share that for the younger women to know what they have to look forward to and to make the older women laugh.
and it's coming for everyone.
It's coming for
It's
you.
coming for
It's
every
coming
single
for
woman.
you.
And,
Yeah.
including the weight gain, and you're like, I'm active, I eat this, I don't eat that. It's coming for you. And
Yeah. And
so,
ignore those influencers that are older that are shaming you, telling you that that's not true. And they're like an almond mom who then you see their lunch and they're like so calorie deficit starved and working out 6 hours a day. And they're like, menopause doesn't have to change you. Those other women are trying to tell you, but you just need to get yourself under control. And they're like, here's my lunch. And it's a piece of lettuce and, you know, 3 ounces of boiled chicken. Just
yeah,
throwing that out there.
unsustainable. It's unsustainable. And they might not be eating enough calories, which can
Right.
also mess with their metabolism. But
Yeah.
yeah, these changing times, this feminine change that is coming for all of us.
Yeah.
And men have their own change too, by the way. They go through
They
their
do.
own version of a change. And for
Yeah.
us, I'm going to cycle this and kind of spin this back to uh, getting outside your comfort zone and learning something new.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of what you'll you'll learn is that there are things to help you. There are supplements you can take. There's hormone replacement if you decide to go that route or can go that route. Some people can't, and we have to
Yeah.
respect that.
Yeah.
It, there are things in that category to help you, but then there's other things to help you. Sleeping, got to get your sleep. You've got to
Yeah.
prioritize your sleep. You've got to prioritize protein in your diet, whatever form it is that you want to eat.
Yeah.
You've got to prioritize learning new
Yeah.
things. So just like you need to prioritize strength training to keep your bones healthy and your muscles there to help not only with your bone health, but also your metabolism, you got to exercise your brain
Yeah.
and really challenge yourself. And
Yeah.
there is where you have a breakthrough of this brain fog, dementia kind of. It's not dementia, but there is an effect from a neuroscience perspective. If anyone's curious, it's Dr. Lisa Mosconi does a lot of the neuroscience research behind this. She's written several books on this. There is a change in your brain with a decrease of estrogen, and
Yeah.
got to kind of like shock it and wake it back up.
Yep.
It is like climbing a mountain, because you're looking at the top of that mountain, you're like, wow, that's going to be a lot of work. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. But should you choose to climb the mountain, and should you choose to do the work, what happens is, to use a metaphor, you get the satisfaction of climbing it, but you see things from a whole new perspective, and you broaden. In German, they say, like, you make your brain wider, like your
Mm-hmm.
perspective wider.
Yeah. The
And
aperture of the mind. Mm-hmm.
yeah, erweitern is what we say in German. So it's like you're forcing it wider, and it's a beautiful opportunity. I'm using a lot of should language. I shouldn't be using that. I should not be using should language.
I know. I was going to say, by the way, as much as we're saying these things are important, there is nothing more annoying than being told, like, you need to prioritize your sleep and eat 60 grams of protein and da
I
da da. And
apologize.
you're
I
like,
should not be
listen,
using should
I would love
language.
to prioritize my sleep, bitch. It's not working, and I can't sleep because I'm in perimenopause. But thank you for telling me how important my sleep
Totally.
is. So if you just heard that and you were like, I have a fanculo,
If
then
you're
we
like,
understand.
she is patronizing, it's because I'm using should a lot. I apologize. I try to catch myself.
Do your best.
It's a habit I'm breaking. It's a hard one. It would benefit you if.
Yeah. And it's always just like a spectrum of optimal to suboptimal. It's not like this is right and this is wrong and it's just as much as you can move towards most optimal, and then know
Something
that
is
it's
better
okay.
than
And then,
nothing. And
yeah. And it's going to slide some days, and that's okay.
yeah.
Like, that's okay. I ate an ungodly amount of cheese yesterday. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I
was
invite
that
you to come to Switzerland and eat our wonderful cheese
You
here.
have amazing cheese.
So
Also, though, like, I love that in Chinese medicine, they say that it's more important your attitude and your joy and your savoring of what you're eating than what you actually eat. And I believe this. I think that it's so interesting because data, like, speaking of, now I'm going to contradict myself, evidence based, love it. A lot of studies that are often done are on, like, these highly stressed populations with no social support, with no, like, Americans, like, these populations. And you, like, me as a medical anthropologist, I'm like, you have to look at other factors. Like, there was this very famous medical anthropologist whose name I can't think of right now. I'm sorry. This is way back in my filing cabinet of graduate school, but he was also a medical doctor, and he was studying blood pressure and heart disease in populations in the South. And he did this for like 20 some years longitudinally. So he followed people through time. And then there was control cohort studies, all kinds of different types of studies. And they found very clearly, and actually the formula he used has now been used in tons of scientific research, but that social support and then social status were more important than diet and smoking. Kid you not. Like people who owned a radio, this tells you how old some of this original research was, were less likely to have high blood pressure because it spoke to a level of socioeconomic status in those communities. And if you had that socioeconomic status, you were less stressed, you had more. And then social support was one of the largest predictors. The lower the social support, the higher the blood pressure and the risk of death of heart disease and heart attack and all these things. And I'm very much paraphrasing that body of research, but
Yeah.
social support and the context in which we're eating, the love that we have around us, all of those things are just as important than all this like obsessive wellness stuff. Like I saw this hilarious meme the other day and it was about that Brian Johnson guy who I cannot stand. Ugh, like just looking at him makes
I
me
love
like
this meme. I was going to comment about this
my vulva goes inside of my body when I see a photo of that man. Like it just all just goes inside. If I had balls, they would be up in my throat. They crawled so high in my body when I see that man. But there's a picture of him and it's like spends $10 million a year on health wellness, takes hundreds of supplements. And then it was like old Italian guy, smokes cigarettes. I'm not telling you to smoke, by the way, but it said like chain smokes cigarettes, drinks, jumps in the sea once in a while, eats whatever he wants, plays cards with his friends, projected life expectancy 104, and it's like, it's important to contextualize things with our emotional well-being and our social relationships also.
because also you're seeing that where you live. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that where I live.
Yeah.
There are people climbing mountains and they're in their 80s smoking
It's
here
so
in
funny to
Switzerland.
watch. It's so funny. They're just like,
It's weird. I can
it's
be
so
out in the
weird.
middle of nowhere in a hike in the Jura. Nobody is around me, and then I see some people go by on a bicycle. They might be e-bikes, okay, but these are silver-haired, well-lived people. And
Yeah.
then one of them stops and lights up a cigarette. I'm like,
It's so
what?
funny. It reminds me of that, now I can't think of that comedian's name. I'm usually really good at pulling to mind authors and stuff, and it's just not happening today. But it was an SNL skit, and he's like bopping, and he's like talking about being a European, and he's like, we get up in the morning and we have like 5 cigarettes and like a coffee, and then like something healthy like a chocolate bar, and then and then we go to work for like 1 hour, 2 hours. So he's doing this like ridiculous accent that is no country. And then he goes, and then it's lunch and we have like 1 bottle of wine and like 5 more cigarettes and then something healthy like another chocolate bar. It kills me. I showed it to my friend Luca from Austria and she was laughing so hard she was just crying. Like,
Yeah, because that's Europe. Each country has their own version of it. It's
which was also why I loved the nondescript accent, the like fake accent he was using that was from nowhere.
yeah, yeah.
By the way, we're not telling you to drink whole bottles of wine and to smoke cigarettes and
No.
eat chocolate bars. Please do not be like, they
The
said we
big
should.
point is it's the joie de vivre. It's what the French call the joie de vivre, right? It's like savoring life. It's
Yeah.
really, and that was your point, right? It's
Yeah.
to savor life, and
Yeah.
I feel like American culture is so fixated on like what the next health craze is to fix their
Yeah.
problem, and that is the problem. There's
Yeah.
not one thing to fix your problem.
Yeah.
It's a whole lifestyle and mindset adjustment, and therein lies the solution, and that requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not eating more
Yeah.
kale or I'm going to
Yeah.
eat 6 more blueberries. No, you're missing the point.
And in a way, it's also less work because it's stopped trying so hard. You're not a problem to solve. It's not a project. It's the same thing with like all this healing. I'm on my healing journey, this emotional healing. Yes. I mean, I've had trauma therapy. I had CPTSD. I'm not mocking that in case it sounded like I was. I've had a lot of therapy. I believe in therapy. Also, I'm a coach. Of course, I believe in deep change work. But I do not do any of it from a place of that there's anything that is requiring fixing or is damaged. It's just life. Like Daegis and I were talking about this yesterday. There's nothing to figure out and nothing to fix. Like some of your biggest healing stuff is when you allow, I literally wrote an article on Substack that like your work is not to heal a couple weeks ago. Like with food, with everything, like your life is so short. Do you really want to spend it obsessing about if you ate 160 grams of protein today? And if you got a coffee enema and then went and did your whatever, I'm not telling you to do that either. I don't believe in that, by the way. Things I see in the yoga world daily that make me go. But like there, and I know I've probably made somebody mad today. I'm sure I have, but it's
That's
like
okay.
relax into
It's
your
an
life,
opportunity.
find more joy, find more ease. Like some of your biggest emotional healing, quotation marks, is going to happen when you just start living your life and you find play and you make a really good pasta. You don't have to eat pasta, but like whatever you love, and you take pleasure in it, like more pleasure, more
Yeah.
joy, more play, and you will be shocked how your blood pressure might drop, and how,
Yeah.
like different things that were such a problem for you start to fall away.
This is one of the things I love about getting older.
Yeah, me too.
Um, there's something that happens around 50 for,
Mm,
I will only speak to my experience because that's all I
yeah,
can really speak to.
yeah,
When I was 50, 51, right around there, you're on the other side. You don't see like this long life ahead of you. You're on the other side. You actually see like there's not a lot of time left. And there's not a lot of time left with your family, with friends. So you start to change your mindset in the way of like, I'm not going to waste my time anymore with the following because now I'm on
yeah,
the other side of this. And I want to savor what I can while I can because I might have another 25, 30 years of mobility to allow me to go and savor what I
yeah.
want to savor still.
You and I talked about that when we were jogging up some steps in some steep place in Switzerland. We were like, we have to do this, as terrible as this is right this moment. We were like huffing and puffing. I remember we were like, but we have to, because if we wait, we don't know if we'll be able to do this in 20 years. So we got to do it right now.
You
Let's run
got to
up
do
these
it right now.
stairs. Yeah.
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 And there's something so beautiful about that because what happens is it's like you start shedding this skin of insecurity of like,
Oh, stop
you
touching
know,
your shoulders, my love. It's very loud on your mic.
oh, sorry. Um, I, I'll give you an example. I used to care a lot about how I would look on social media.
Yeah.
Like, did I look thin? Can somebody see wrinkles? I, I just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
I will film things and I'm like, I have so many wrinkles there, and it doesn't even fucking matter because what matters is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and that's it. And
Yeah.
it's so liberating when you get to this point of like, just don't. I don't care about that so much anymore. I care more about quality
Yeah.
versus this outward exterior appearance or um, I don't care about like trying to please other people so much anymore. God, such a liberating thing to finally let it sink in where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna take a vacation and go hike in the mountains by myself for 6 days.
Yeah. And I
And
want to say something. I want to interject for a second. It's not from a rebellious place because when you're younger, you think, no, I'm just on a mission today to see who I can offend. You think you don't care. And you hear this a lot. And I used to say it to you like, I just don't even care. I don't care what, but you care so much.
you care a
It's
lot.
just buried under, it's something. Don't you remember being in your 30s and being like, I just don't care anymore. I'm so much more confident. And you are compared to the previous decade. And yet it's like, it's more of like a rebelling against it, where as you age, it starts to naturally fall away. Chinese medicine talks about this so well because it fits into 5 element theory, the decades of of life. So the transition into 50 is one of the most important, and the 50s are this movement from the fire, the peak production, like peak of the career, peak of child rearing, peak of everything in your 40s. And the 50s is where there's this movement towards earth element and things are more spreading and settled. And then, like you said, because there's less life in front of you, it's also when things get shaken up to a degree because you decide, do I want to stay? I've been in this career for 30 years. Do I want to make a change? It's what people often call a midlife crisis. It's not a crisis. It's a, okay, I'm done with all of that stuff. I proved myself. I made my success. The kids are out of the house or about to be. Now I have to make a real decision and settle into this earthiness and this earth element. And there's that shedding that happens, which is setting you up for in your 60s and 70s, which is metal. And it's the refinement and the killing energy. It's the polishing of the silver, like the real refinement that then comes after that. And I love that dialogue of thinking of it this way.
That's
Like,
beautiful.
isn't
Yeah.
it gorgeous? And it
Yeah.
really and then it shows up in the face and face reading, which is so interesting. Like this line people get under here is called a retirement line, and it's when you've been like overly invested in other people's, you've put your too much of your creative energy into other people's stuff instead of your own heavenly mandate or golden path or Ming. And so it's not something to criticize. It just goes, oh, it's time to turn my energy towards my passions. Got it. Like it's just a little alarm bell, and it's common in the 50s. So I love what you
Yeah.
said because it fits so well with these like esoteric dialogues.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's
Isn't it?
totally been my experience.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And and in a way, being you're kind of like stepping into your true self more in
Yeah.
your 50s. And not like, oh, I'm so confident. It's just more, you're just more relaxed because you're more
Yeah.
who you really are.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to
it's,
pause you really quick just because you said something so important and I don't want to forget. It's the becoming who you are thing. I have a lot to say about that. I've been writing about this a lot, but it's not that you weren't who you were before. And this is really important. And there's also no self to find. The purpose is the path, and it's just an unfolding. What you're becoming is not more yourself. You're becoming more dimensional because you've accessed more pieces of yourself and had more experiences and developed more techniques. It's not that you weren't who you were before, and whatever stage of your life that you're in, you're just only at this moment allowed to express through certain facets because the other ones haven't opened up yet, and they will as the wheel turns of seasonality. Like we become less caring about things because we've been through more cycles of, this is crone medicine in the mythology, more cycles of life and death. Paula knows more about spring than someone who's 16 because she's had 30 some more springs. And so she trusts what spring does more than a 16-year-old. So I think it's really important that we don't go, oh, well, I don't get to be myself till later. You're yourself now, and you're every age you're ever going to be. You're just going to get more expressed and more dimensional. And that's the goal, which to bring back everything we've said, which is why learning is so important and staying. And because those things give you more access to yourself. Every technique you learn gives you another piece of yourself. And so then you get to be more dimensional. You've moved through another season. So if you just heard like, oh, but I'm myself, or like, wait, I'm not myself because I'm younger, you're yourself. You get to be more and more dimensional as you age. And it's something to look forward to. I just wanted to interject that because I think we get very tangled up when we're young about finding ourselves. And there's no self to find. You're you. You're just learning to express yourself more and to be more of yourself. Yeah.
and I think younger generations have it more difficult right now than we did
Yeah.
because we didn't have social media.
No.
Our generation, we grew up as technology really started to blossom.
Yeah.
And so we had different identity crisis at different stages of our life.
Yeah.
And if there's one takeaway I hope everyone can take from this discussion is that aging is a really beautiful process. It's a
Yeah.
really wonderful process that I hope and wish is celebrated more,
Yeah.
because I lived in Los Angeles, okay? Los Angeles is a city of vanity and youth and wealth and success and failure. All, it's all so many crazy energies, just like desperation and this narcissism and like this earthiness along with it. And then there's also a sense of community. It's really quite an interesting energy. But when you grow up in a city like that and you live there for 35 years, I lived there for 35 years. I endured that. And to step out of that and see that, first of all, the rest of the world doesn't operate like that or think like that. Um, so it really, at this point in time in my life, I remember never thinking I would grow old in LA. You can't think like that because everyone around you is just getting younger and younger, and you're competing, or you find yourself competing with that. It's insane.
The yoga world feels that way to me with the development of Instagram and Instagram yoga culture, where we grew up in a generation where you wanted mature, wise teachers. And now it's like people are looking for the teacher who doesn't have their shirt on and can do a handstand on their pinky or whatever. And someone asked me yesterday why I'm not doing 200-hour yoga teacher trainings in person probably anymore after this year. I'm exhausted. Like, I love running my trainings more than anything. I just don't want to compete in these spaces anymore, frankly. Like, I don't want to make asana videos every day. Like, I'm like, oh, I need to say something about yoga, when to me, my whole life is yoga. And I get that pressure of like, oh, if I'm not making enough yoga videos on Instagram, I've been talking about whatever. I feel like that thing you're describing is also in the yoga world. Anyway, carry on. But like in LA,
Yeah.
young, that like competition for that.
But I feel like that experience is amplified because
Yeah.
of social
Social
media. And
media.
now, like,
Yeah.
it was just isolated in certain cities. LA was like that because of the film industry and the entertainment industry and people coming there
Yeah.
because they want to
Yeah.
become famous. And
Yeah.
it really starts there.
Yeah.
But now expand that globally because we've got social media, Instagram, TikTok, all of these uh, outlets where globally people want to be seen, want to be heard, want to be famous. That's a lot of pressure uh,
Yeah.
to put on sometimes children, right? Like children
Yeah.
see this and they're like, I want to do that. That's a
It's
lot
also
of pressure.
killing purpose, because purpose, we have innate gifts and talents and things that we're intended to do and be. And the obsession with fame, which requires you do the latest trend, which requires you use the trending audio, which that all of that is the opposite of the cultivation of purpose and personal genius. It's collectivism, which is not genius. It's not creative. It's not art. It is collectivism. It's a hand cutting, if we want to tip of the hat to the handmaiden's tale, which you can go on my Substack to learn about. But like, it's a hand cutting. It's taking away the creative acts that we produce with the hands. And this is why, like, I notice more and more everyone's fashion looks exactly the same. And it's so sad to me because I'm clean girl aesthetic. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And everyone looks the same. I was out in Rome the other day and there was this group of like college age girls walking. I swear to God, 25 girls. I could not tell them apart. The outfits were the same. Everyone had the same outfit on, and not because they were like on a squad or something. They just all looked the same. And it's the same thing that I see on TikTok. Like, there's a death of creativity in favor of collectivism, and you see it in fashion. The lack of style that didn't happen when we were younger because there was nowhere to access that. We were at the thrift store and we were buying this and we were piecing together personal style, which does not have to be anything superficial. Like, fashion is meant to be, that outer expression of an inner reality, if that's a way that you like to play. It doesn't have to be. There's lots of people who that doesn't interest them, but that's what that is. And we see this across the board. My teacher Martin Shaw would say that they're all enchanted. They're under a spell. from
Yeah.
the TikTok kings and queens. It's bad storytelling. It's repetitive bad storytelling. Good stories break spells. Bad stories bewitch people. And this like thing that young people are living under that you're talking about is a bewitching. And they're walking, and everyone's walking around like in their matching outfits with their it's I can't imagine the pressure that they're under. I'm
Yeah.
also not criticizing them, by the way. If it sounds like I am, I'm not. I would have fallen prey to the same thing, I'm sure. I
I'm
have to
very,
fight it now.
yeah, I'm very empathic to the younger generations because
Yeah.
they are enduring the outcome of all of this.
Yeah.
We grew up with it. Our
Yeah.
parents didn't have it, so they're like, oh. Our
Yeah.
generation grew up with it, so it became normalized. But then we
Yeah.
also have something to compare it against
Yeah.
because we had the experience of none of that.
Not having it. Yeah.
And now these newer generations have it's just part of the normal thread of everyday life. And
Yeah.
I was reading a newspaper article here that there was a growing movement of the youth here that are saying no to social media,
Yeah.
and the importance of meeting their friends in public and like going to cafes and like doing,
Yeah.
it's like a retro-y thing, like let's
They're
go
getting
meet
rid
in
of
a,
smartphones. There's like a trend to buy flip phones and like non smartphone phones, which is fabulous.
yeah, which is,
It's
I think
cool.
it's pretty cool to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, analog. Analog is
Proud of them.
trendy. We're
Yeah.
trendy. Our old life is trendy. Yeah, I have so much compassion for them too, and there's a lot to be said about that in terms of lack of initiation. Like young people aren't initiated into adulthood anymore, and there's no one initiating them in the way that they were in the past. They aren't getting told the good stories, the old stories that teach us how to live anymore. They're not reading the classics. Sorry, they don't have to anymore. The humanities are dying in a lot of education systems, and when you lose access to the humanities, you lose access to ancestry and to those old ways of knowing that are so important and would inform a different future. And I think we have a responsibility to, when we can, to scoop them up and get them reconnected with old story and get them connected with personal style and get them off of a trend, but instead, what do you think, what do you feel, what do you see, and like as they say, to go touch grass. you know
Yeah.
I think they still say that. Do they still say that? Go touch grass?
I don't know. I'm in Switzerland, so which is like an added layer of people being like walled
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things I try to teach my patients one by one is how to like really express what it is they need, what they're feeling. That's a really that's a big challenge here because they do
Mm,
not express how they feel here.
mm,
They weave it into something very passive, and just a slight, a very subtle comment can mean that they're very upset.
yeah.
And I'm like, say that you're upset.
Yeah.
And they're like, they can't.
Mm. That's so
Even
interesting.
some of the
Yeah.
younger people, it's better. Younger generations are better, but the
Yeah.
older generation, this trickles down into, they don't tell their doctor what's wrong with them
Yeah.
because they don't want to trouble somebody with their problems.
Oh, yeah.
It's really sad.
That's sad. And then we could argue that some Americans are overly expressed. Because it's irresponsible self-expression, right? Like when your self-expression harms others because you don't have boundaries around expressing things in a healthy way, to be clear. I mean, in a healthy way, healthy
This is the
expression. Like I get to
antithesis
blow
of
up
that.
everywhere, right? There's
Yeah,
like this ends of the spectrum. And we're generalizing right now. We are aware that there's a lot of variation within every
we are
population.
very
But
aware.
but sometimes for conversation's sake, it's helpful to generalize for a moment and then zoom back out and go, we know there's a lot of nuance, and zoom in, and play with layers of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a
None of
patient the other day. She's had numerous back surgeries on her back. I think she's up to 13 surgeries
oh,
on her back because the first surgery was done incorrectly. And then
oh,
the doctor went in to correct it. Then there was an infection, and then. She's permanently disabled. She
Mm.
also has diabetes. Um, and she has a very flat affect. So when she speaks, and I'm not sure if it's because she's depressed from the chronic pain and the circumstance, which is probably one part of what's going on with her. And then I think one part of it is I spoke with her the other day because she had new back pain and I didn't brush it off. When I hear something new, I investigate. So what is this pain? Where? And she described it and I go, this is completely new. She goes, yes.
Mm.
I said, did you tell your doctor? I told him I had back pain again. That was it. She didn't go and describe what was going on. It's not that she just had back pain. When I did an evaluation on her, neurologically, she had lost sensation in her leg, almost all of it completely. She couldn't lift her foot up. She couldn't bend her knee. She couldn't lift her leg. These are all signs that she needs to go and seek immediate attention.
Yeah.
And her doctor was like, and here they call them house arts. It's like you go see your general practitioner in the United States, but the training is not what the United States is. Like my medical training is probably better than what the house arts have here.
The basic level.
Yeah, because I asked her, I go, did your doctor do any of this stuff? And she was like, nope.
Yeah.
Didn't even bother to look, was like, take some more pain pills. That was it.
Yeah.
I'm like, if this is worse, I, I'm like, I am almost inclined to tell you to go to the hospital right now, but I think you need to call your back doctor when you leave here and tell him
Yeah.
everything you told me. And then I told her this, which I don't tell Americans because Americans are very good at communicating what's wrong with them most of the time. But I told her this, I go, be dramatic
Mm.
because you have
So
permission
interesting.
to actually express how you feel behind this.
Yeah.
Are you frustrated? She goes, yeah. I go, say that. Say it. I'm
Yeah.
really frustrated. Why is my back worse? Why am I not better? Have you asked these questions? And she goes, no. I go,
Yeah.
do you want to say them? She goes, yeah. She's like,
Well,
she didn't give herself permission to be
no.
outraged.
Yeah. I mean, that can be, yes, definitely cultural things because sick rolls, my medical anthropology brain is flipping through all these files about sick rolls and, perceptions of illness and blah, 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 blah. But also, like, there's so many things there. Like, I live with a lot of chronic pain, as anyone who listens to this show knows. And you start to, not like the scale of this woman, but there's something that can feel very defeatist about it. Like most days, if I'm honest, I've given up on thinking my neck's ever gonna not hurt. Like I used to have a lot of hope. I've that's dwindled over the years after thousands and thousands of dollars and help from so many people. It's a neurological injury, it's complicated. I've started to give up that it's ever gonna get better. And so there's like that it's kind of like every day there's a pillow over an alarm that's going off, and sometimes there can't be enough pillows on it for me to ignore how loud the beeping is, and then it's unbearable. And you start to get a little defeatist. Like when I go in to see someone just for pain management, like I start to like, I'm like, what's the point in telling you how bad it hurts? Like on the one level there's that, and then people also, and depending on the culture and the community they grow up in, are taught that they shouldn't question medical authority, right? Like I got into it hard with a gynecologist in Italy who was older than me and was pissed off that I was spouting research at her because she wouldn't give me what I needed, and was arguing with me that I don't have perimenopause because perimenopause is only 3 months before menopause. Yeah, how outdated is that? And she's written a book and da da da. And we got into it because she was like arguing with me. You don't know. And I was like, I have piles of research that I can show you. I do know what I'm talking about. You wrote your book like in what, 1985, and haven't read anything since. Like,
Ooh,
like really got into it. And because she was not kind, and she was mad that I was questioning her authority. Now I
because
have
she
another.
wanted to be right.
Yeah, and needed to be a medical authority, and you're not a doctor. Now, my new doctor here is younger, and he's happy to be challenged, and have
Mhm.
conversations. But there's a lot of medical professionals and then people who've been taught you're not supposed to advocate for yourself. And it's like, on the one hand, I'm high level value expertise. I am not anti intellectual. I love expertise. I love people who know their shit and study it. And at the same time, you have to be able to advocate for yourself, like you're saying, and to speak up.
You really have to. And this is something culturally here.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to gently hold the hands of my patients
Yeah.
emotionally and giving them permission to say and ask certain questions, that it's okay.
Yeah.
And that if they don't say what's wrong, the doctor has nothing to go by.
That's
It's,
right.
oh, you have permission to complain about what's wrong with you to your healthcare professional.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, and in using your example, if you feel like you're being gaslit, if you feel like you're not being heard or not being listened to, if you feel like they're using stuff that's outdated, if you even know that it's outdated, but if you don't feel like you're being heard,
Hmm.
find another doctor.
Yep. Which is what I did. I exited quite quickly. I
Yeah.
tried twice, and then I was like, you're not answering my questions. You're refusing to answer my questions. You're refusing to give me the medication that you've put me on, an inappropriate medication that no one is recommending for people with my symptoms and circumstances. I've consulted with several doctors. Lucky me, I know so many doctors. And I had like called friends of mine in Canada, in like high level gynecological servants and obstetricians and menopause specialists. I just know a lot of people who are in the medical field. And I was like, what do you think about this? And they were like, that woman needs to retire, and I was like, yeah, she does. But I was coming, and I was so polite in the beginning, by the way. If I sound like I was super bitchy, I wasn't. I was like, what do you think about this? Like, I was really trying to be curious and kind. And, but then it got to a point where I was like, you're at this point, it's negligent care, right? And I have to exit. So you also have to know when it's time to go and to
Yeah.
advocate for yourself.
Yeah, which you did. And
Yeah.
and this all plays into your chronic pain, because your chronic pain, your ability to sense pain and the responsiveness of that, and your diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, all of this becomes heightened with
Yeah,
perimenopause.
perimenopause. When I look back now too, that's when, I mean, I had an acute injury to my neck, but all of it was perfect, come together, horrific window of opportunity. Perimenopause, acute neurological injury to my neck, doing martial arts, like an acute injury, perimenopause, all of it like went perfectly in sync. Yep, boom. And then it's been a whole thing. And like, I started HRT a few months ago, and while I still have pain, there's been a noticeable reduction in my day-to-day chronic joint pain symptoms. And again, you need to speak with your physician. We're not giving medical advice, but there is a lot of research around musculoskeletal pain and drop in estrogen, right? And this is one of the things people don't talk about. And then they gaslight women like, you're not in pain. There's nothing wrong with your joints. There's nothing wrong with, if you add
Just
somebody
live
like
with
the
it. That's the
condition. Yeah, just live
normal.
with it. You're just
Yeah,
aging.
just live with it, which is
Yeah,
gaslighting.
it's gaslighting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's musculoskeletal um, uh, problems that do arise with perimenopause and
Yeah.
menopause. It's research. There's research on this. It's
Yeah.
Dr. Von der Wright has done this,
Hmm.
um, and there's actually, I think there's another researcher as well.
There
I've
is. I can't
read.
think of her name. I've got some, there's like, I can't retrieve anything today. Speaking of perimenopause,
Might
can't
be
remember.
time for some more estrogen.
I am the queen of retrieving information. Anyone who studied with me knows I can spout off page of what Paul's nodding. I'm like spouting off page numbers, the year something was published, the author, the page that it's on, the book it's in. And right now I'm like a grr.
Down to like, I was sitting in Nepal reading this thing, like down to like
Yeah,
where you learned it.
I'm like, it was 11:01. I have a really crazy memory. It's actually obnoxious because I always feel like people are gaslighting me, and it's taken me almost my entire life to realize other people just don't remember. Like, because I'll be like, oh, they're lying to me, they're gaslighting me. I'm like, you had a yellow shirt on and it was 12:03 and you said this. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it took me years to realize everyone wasn't gaslighting me. They just don't remember. And I have a freaky visual, auditory, I don't know what it's called, memory. And it's part of why school was really easy for me. Like stuff just, it's there, it's there. And then at the same time, because I have ADHD, I don't know what time my doctor's appointment is and I'm not coming. But
Which gets worse with menopause.
perimenopause.
I didn't have ADHD. As I've gotten older, hello, it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I always
So
did because it's often a comorbidity with Ehlers-Danlos. I was late diagnosed, and by the way, I'm really aware that like everyone diagnoses self-diagnoses now from TikTok and stuff, but like 96% or something like that. I can't remember the number of people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome also have either autism or ADHD. It's a very high comorbidity. And mine was deeply, deeply internalized, as it often is with women, because I was a high performer. Like I was the kid that they were trying to bump up in school. I had all these, like when I was in kindergarten, they wanted to put me in like the second grade, and my mom said no because I was weird enough, and she didn't want me to go through that developmental challenge. But like I was high performing, so it was a different type of like internalized ADHD. It wasn't that I couldn't learn. It was almost anyway.
It presents differently in girls than it does in boys.
Yeah. And
it just does. And
yeah.
And how you described it is exactly how I read children will present with and girls. So it's very interesting.
The hyper focus, like obsession with things wasn't noticed. Like I was obsessed with Egypt when I was a kid. Like, it was like my hyper focus topic for like years. So much so that I mummified some Barbie dolls.
Do you still have them?
No, because I destroyed them. Because I didn't have the right supplies. I was like 6, but yeah, I mummified. And then I wasn't allowed to have Barbies for a while because no one understood what I had done. They thought I had just like destroyed these expensive toys. And I was like, I mummified them for
It's amazing.
So funny. So weird.
Do your listeners know what Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is?
No, why don't you tell them? You'll probably explain it better than me, even though I have it.
It's a genetic condition, and it's a connective tissue problem. So connective tissue, I think most people would understand it as the fascia, but really it's beyond that. It's like your ligaments, it's your tendons, it's things that connect things together in your body. And it creates a hypermobility. So there's too much elasticity to these structures, which I'm going to also describe that these structures typically, like a ligament, which connects a bone to a bone, has a certain amount of rigidity to it because its job is to create stability of a joint and keep things connected. But if it's stretchy and a little rubbery and it moves too well, it compromises not only the structure of that joint, which is in Ehlers-Danlos everywhere in every joint, but it also what we know now is that these ligament structures have nociceptive qualities, which accept information regarding pain to transmit to your brain, and the brain reports back. And also proprioception qualities, which is where your brain thinks your body is in space.
Which is why I'm always bruised.
We have that in every single ligament of our body. So we have this neuro input there, but with downloads and there's other conditions that are also connective tissue disorders separate from
Yeah,
this.
not everyone who's hypermobile is Ehlers-Danlos. Everyone is, I know, who's flexible now or hypermobile is like, oh, I must have that too. And I'm like, no, it's a rare disease, and it's less rare than they used to think it is, but it requires genetic testing. And there's all different kinds of Ehlers-Danlos. Some of them, thank God, I don't have. There's some very severe forms where people are, deal with much more serious pain and physical conditions than I have. And
Very
mine,
serious. Yeah.
it affects more than just your bones and all of that. Like I've had multiple surgeries on my stomach because it's in all of my tissue. So like I have had bowel twist torsions in my bowel. I've had hernias in my stomach from it where that then stretched and ripped apart. And sorry if this is graphic, like I have to get my mitral valve checked in my heart every few years because people with my condition are more likely to have something called mitral valve collapse. Like it's more than just having hypermobility. Like, and
Anywhere
yeah,
that there is any type of connective tissue structure in your body is
yeah,
it is affected, I'm going to say.
yeah,
And what I want everyone to think about is, let's go back to the ligament structure. Let's
yeah,
say the ligament in your knee, just to give a very specific example. So the ligament in your knee that is solid and keeps your knee together. There's more than one. There's a bunch of ligaments in the knee, by the way. But it's always sending signals up to your brain of like, oh, you're bending too much, that hurts, or there's always this constant communication happening back and forth,
yeah.
constant. With Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it's delayed. It happens later. The pain information, the stretch, the proprioception, all of this input that we rely on to know where we are in space and what we're feeling, it's all delayed, which means it's too late. You've done
Which is why
more
I was so
damage.
badly injured doing jujitsu because I would not feel when I didn't tap. You're supposed to like tap when your shoulder's about to break. I couldn't feel it. I was like, I'm fine. Or I would just like pull my arm out. And then now I have this like very serious pain in my body because I couldn't feel it. Like it would be the next day that I would be like, oh, my elbow's like screwed, or an hour after, or 20 minutes, or 5 minutes, but I couldn't feel it at the time and I wasn't tapping appropriately.
And
Even when I was being modest, by the way, like I was tapping way before I thought I needed to, I couldn't feel it. And I
it's a
did a
great
lot of damage.
example because it's
Yeah.
so delayed and the damage is done. Like
Yeah.
you have overstretched things and it's bruised, swollen, torn, you name it, it's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And this can happen anywhere in the body.
Yeah.
So it's and it becomes
Like your colon. Just happened to me.
yeah.
Bummer.
I and it becomes something that from a therapy side we work, like I work on teaching people to find these like middle ranges and building strength from the middle and
Yeah.
starting to build the strength out, not going to your end ranges
Yeah.
because we're going to blow past what is good and safe. So we want to
Yeah.
like find the middle and
Yeah.
stay towards the middle and like build awareness around that and then slowly expand out. And
Yeah.
that takes time and patience. And it doesn't
It
guarantee
does.
somebody's going to be pain free.
No.
It allows them to have more control.
Yeah. And it's so important. Tejas and I were talking about this yesterday, but like by the time you get like an injury in a yoga class, you can't think like I was just injured in my yoga class. It was 20 years, baby. It was the build up to that moment. Outside of an acute injury, like you run into a pole on your bicycle, like that's an acute injury. But like injuries that happen, like you bend over to pick something up and your back goes out, quotation marks, or you're in yoga and all of a sudden you're like, this happened. Like I snapped a hamstring when I was doing something a few years ago. It was buildup of decades of practice, 3 decades, well, at that point, 25 years of yoga practice. It was 25 years of having Ehlers-Danlos, undiagnosed Ehlers-Danlos, and extreme stretching and contortionism and da da da. I didn't snap it because of the pose I was doing. in that exact moment or because the instructor gave a bad cue. Like, it's really important to remember when you get a movement injury, it's really not just like that exact moment. You know what I mean? Like, I,
No.
I hear people be like, oh, I hurt myself in so and so's class. They're a bad teacher. No, that's not how it works. And that's not how your injury happened. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. And it's specifically with this diagnosis, if I'm going to use an analogy, we're talking on technology and we can talk and communicate and we have this effortless dialogue flowing back and forth. It's exactly how our nervous system works with our body. There's a
Yeah.
constant dialogue happening non-stop, unconsciously, for everything happening in your body.
Yeah.
First of all, how fucking amazing is that? But when you want to use an analogy like that for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS, is you're on a cell phone in the mountains with one bar and you're trying to tell somebody a story and you're only getting the, that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what the brain's getting. And the brain's like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't get the information that it needs in order to respond.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and compounding that over years and years.
Yeah.
The brain is just like, I don't know, it's just background noise. I don't know what it is. So it's just background noise.
Yeah. And I'm someone with so much body awareness. I mean, I teach somatic movement. I've done somatic experiencing training. I am very hyper aware and I'm very sensitive, in every way that a human being can be sensitive. I'm emotionally sensitive. My skin is sensitive. I will break out in hives if you look at me wrong. I'm like so sensitive. And yet this is true. This thing in regards to pain and movement. And it's part of why I love Katonah yoga so much, because it's these recipes of fitting yourself and using your fits and folds and not going to these like extreme ranges. Everything's very functional for organ function and elemental function. And it saved me from when I really thought I would never be able to practice again, because I was at a point where everything that I was trained to do classically hurt my body and was not right for me anymore. And that, like, I'm going to put my knees in my armpits and my hands in my heels, and I'm going to find the fold of my hip, and I'm going to organize myself in a very measured way and free up my imagination in that way and use a recipe was like really liberating for me. Oh goodness, we're 30 minutes almost over what I normally go. It's usually an hour. We're hour and a half, which is unsurprising. That's okay. Now we can round out these 4 minutes. Dr. Paul Sauer and I run a 50-hour training called Mapping the Breath, and there's been 2 iterations of it. The third one starts April 26th, and then it'll happen again probably in the fall. We haven't set dates yet, but over summer, it's just too busy for everyone. And I like to do my coaching hypnosis programs in the summertime, my women's groups, because that is a good time to blossom, is
And we're
summertime
going to
in a
just
coaching
build more
container.
content.
We're just going to build more content.
We have plans.
We have plans, but like we said, it's ongoing access. So even if you're like, I have to miss a weekend, it won't matter, because you'll be able to hop in live in the fall again. And more than likely, realistically, the price will probably go up in the fall. So not to put any anxiety on you, but if you're keen to join us, this program is not just for teachers. It's for anyone who breathes, who wants to do some self neuroplasticity training. Like, I'm already adding some new stuff to this one, kind of emotional first aid tools. You will learn circular breathing techniques, some of those, really hyperventilation, psychedelic breaths techniques, but without some of the hype. Like, we're not going to tell you you're releasing all of your trauma when you do it, because it's not true. Whereas
Also,
evidence-based as
not
we
always
can
about a
be,
trauma dump.
yeah, it's not a trauma dump. It's not just learning breath techniques, though. It's really the whole esoteric dialogue of breath. It's the stuff of life. I'm coaching people. I got a message a couple of days ago from a girl from the last round telling me that how much the program changed her life since January. And she was like, it wasn't even the breath techniques, which were really cool. It was just being in the container you held and in the stuff that you taught us about life and the perspective on life and the way it's shifted mine. And I was supported by all this breath stuff. Breath is an ally of change. It's one of the ways you can build a superhighway. Like, all of our bodies, our brains, pardon me, they run on automations. They have to. So the conscious mind, it's just like running on automations created by the unconscious. So you've built a road to anxiety, a road to this, and you have these ways that you just naturally go, stimulus, and then there's a reaction. What we're learning to do with the breath is put up a roadblock and start to build a new road. And that takes repetitive practice. If you always wait to breathe until you're stressed, it's not very effective. But excuse me, Paula is teaching applied anatomy and physiology and talking about pain and giving wonderful techniques. I'm teaching some Katonah dialogue, some pranayama, these circular breathing techniques, and the esoteric dialogue. It's for anyone. Anything you're doing is either being helped or hindered by the way you breathe. And so it's a really profound opportunity to widen your tool belt and toolkit. Yeah. Do you have anything to add about that? Some people just
No,
logged off
other
already. They're
than
like, they
like
went into
every
the
time
sales
we,
pitch. I'm out.
yeah, every time we teach this, I think both of us, we go and we're both approached with material and things and ideas that are brewing in between every time we run it. So there's always something new.
Yeah.
Like the neuroscience part becomes deeper and deeper for me as
Yeah.
I go deeper and deeper into this content myself from
Yeah.
a different aspect. But I mean, it's such a it's such a truly unique course that we've created. I'm so
It
proud of
is.
what we've created, and
It's so good.
I love participating in it.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Part of the fun is that I get to sit as a student and
Yeah.
the teacher.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
it's not just technique and technical. Again, it's big, it's metaphor and life philosophy.
Yeah,
And we're having big conversations, and there's a lot of room for people to bring whatever it is that they're moving through. So, like I said, I do a lot of coaching in the
yeah,
sessions with people, like emotional coaching and life coaching type stuff, just because everything is everything for me. Like, it's all the yoga, it's all personal development. It's also, I don't separate like my coaching practice from this, from this, from this. I'm going to bring whatever tool someone needs. I was on a call with someone 2 days ago who was calling to ask practical questions about an abdominal surgery and if she'd be able to participate in the breath training. And we spent 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes, all I did was I hypnotized her, I put her in a trance, and I gave her tools for managing her anxiety going into the surgery. Because I don't care if you called to ask me about if you could da da da. I'm going to take first, your house is on fire. Let's take care of that first.
let's
And
put
so
the
that's
fire out.
always how I approach all of my work. So this is not just a course where you come in and we're like, here's 7 techniques, but you'll also get that because that's important too. You need to learn how to paint the by numbers and know the tool and know when to use it. But we're also just like, it's bigger than that. So we would love to have you.
That's why I think it's really it's for everybody, this
Yeah.
class.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
is.
for anyone, and it's not just for yoga teachers or
No.
even healthcare professional. It is truly for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And there's no, you don't need to be intimidated like you won't understand or whatever, or it's above your level. It's not above your level. And anything that is, it'll be there later and you can revisit it because we're not kicking you
Exactly.
out. So anyway, we'd love to have you. There's information in the show notes as well as information about where to follow Paula on social media if you want to go watch her talk about women's health and breath stuff and things. And obviously, you
Everything and
already know where to
anything.
find me. You can also find all of my upcoming yoga teacher trainings and retreats on my website. July is, as of now, intending to be my last 200-hour teacher training. It's in Crete, Greece. June 10th to July 1st. It's anchored in Katonah yoga. You will still learn classical theory, of course. So, anyway, I will see you guys next time on the next episode. I don't remember who's next, but there's more people coming. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thank you, Selena.